What's up, everybody? King Triple C here, the Olympic champion, flyweight champion, the bantamweight champion of the world. And I got a public service announcement to all you wannabe MMA casuals or MMA fans for that reason. You guys make sure to listen to my boy's Story of the Fight with Will and Miro. You know why? Because Triple C said so. And if you don't, you can do me a favor and you can bend the knee to King Triple C too.
Will, how you doing, my man?
Doing good. Post-Christmas. Post-Crimbus.
Dude, yeah, how was Christmas, man?
Yeah, it was
Merry
cool.
Christmas. It was good?
Yeah, it was cool. It was just busy. Working 9 days straight and then Christmas. But it was cool getting to see people and yeah, it was no complaints really.
Yeah, man, it's
What about you?
It's one of those things where like every year you love the holiday season. But at the same time when you work retail, you kind of dread the holiday season at the same time.
Yeah.
And
Wait,
yeah,
keep going, my bad.
I was just gonna say it sucks because the last card is something that we wanted to cover, but just due to life and work, we weren't able to get to it. You know?
Yeah, unfortunately. It was a great card. Real quick, right off the top, when were you gonna share the big news?
About Rich the producer?
No, about us getting sponsored by Nike apparently.
Dude, I'm hoping one day they just show up and they're like, hey, so we've seen your podcast and I see you wear, you know what? Even if they just send me free Nike gear, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it.
Clearly.
Yeah. I won't sell out. And then
Yeah.
before you know it, next week you're going to be wearing all kinds of Nike gear too. Just One
funny.
thing that we did want to mention is that, in the process of trying to make this show better, right? We've really enjoyed what we've gotten to do so far this year. I think we were talking about it not too long ago. We started back in June or July, something like that. So
Something like that, yeah. Whenever it was right after Poirier versus Dan Hooker.
yeah, and I mean half the year we've been doing this already, and a lot of fun, and we continue getting some more subscribers. So thank you for that. And we thought, what can we do to try to make this show better and try to make the uploads better, YouTube's videos, and we thought we might need a producer to help us along the way. So for everybody that doesn't know, we have Rich the producer that has now joined us. Rich, if you want to say some nice words.
Yeah, what's going on, guys? Disembodied voice here. I'm just here to say I really appreciate you guys inviting me onto the show. I'm excited to make the show as great as possible, and I think the fact that I am not as clued into the scene is going to make it more exciting, one, for me to learn from you guys as we go, but also to just focus on making this as technically sound as possible for our listeners and our fans. So here's to a successful new year, 2021, and I will get out of the show now. Y'all do y'all's thing.
Rich, the producer, coming through. I love it. But, one of the things that we talked about, too, was being able to put, pictures and stuff like that in our videos for people to be able to reference to. And I think that having Rich, the producer, hop on and helping us out with that piece and be more consistent with that's going to make the show better as well.
Yeah, it's not going to make it worse. I also think it might be fun down the line, like when he said right now, he's excited to learn more about it just from listening to us talk about it and everything. It might be kind of fun to in our picks episode, have Rich the casual. What do you think about it? Who's your
Where he
number one
transitions
pick on this card?
from Rich the producer to Rich the casual fan. And actually, you know what? Last night, Rich did send me a voice memo asking, is there a fight card on tonight? So he's already showing interest.
Perfect.
Right?
Perfect.
Right?
Yeah.
Like every other fan, he's probably going to come in and know Conor McGregor right off the bat.
Yeah.
Israel
Brock
Adesanya
Lesnar.
right now. Brock Lesnar. What? But we'll, getting here close to the end of the year gives us an opportunity to look back and think about some of the more memorable moments of 2020.
Yeah.
And there was a lot. First off, I want to say that the UFC, on a year where the world was flipped upside down, did such a good job still putting
Yeah.
fights on, still showing major organizations that it's possible while keeping their fighters healthy, keeping the UFC employees healthy. Dana
Well,
White and the rest of
how
the
about
UFC
Dana
staff.
did such a good job? Yeah, Dana did such a good job that Trump even put him on the team in charge for the whole country, in charge of getting things back moving. He was part of that board. It's like
That's
if you would have
amazing.
told me that even just 5 years ago, I'd be like, you're crazy. But
I
here we
mean,
are.
no, but just a fantastic job by the UFC, and I just want to, say thank you to the UFC because they made this year a lot easier. Because without
Yeah.
the UFC, without all those fights, and without all that entertainment, and when you think about the fact that it was like fight after fight after fight, weekend after weekend, we just had something to look forward to on
Yeah.
Saturday nights. So,
Well, like
big
in
props.
6 months, we have like 40 videos. We were just looking at it right now. Like that's how much content
Yeah.
the UFC was putting out.
It's crazy, and I absolutely loved it. So big thanks to the UFC. Props to UFC. Props to Dana White for making it happen. So a couple things that I did want to cover with you, Will. And I had a couple things that I had sent you. And the first one was, who do you think was the breakout star of the year? I want to hear your thoughts on this one.
Yeah. Obviously, there's runner-ups. If I had to name a few off the top of my head, people that come to mind, Khamzat Chimaev, obviously. Burst onto the scene. Everybody knows who he is now. That guy's an animal. I think he went from like 11,000 followers on Instagram to like, I think he's close to like 1 mil or something crazy like that now. Like just skyrocketed. Davison Figueiredo, I think before this year, most fans probably don't even know who he is. Never heard of him. And all of a sudden he headlines back-to-back pay-per-views, something that hasn't been done since UFC 33. So, and took on. Cejudo says he saved the flyweight division. Figueiredo is making people pay attention to it and like look forward to it. So, breakout star right there for me. But if I have to pick one, it's your boy Kevin Holland.
Ooh, okay, nice. Good pick.
Yeah.
Solid pick, man.
Also, honorable mention to my boy Bobby Green. Bobby Green had a phenomenal year and
he had a really good year.
Turned a lot of heads this year, and I couldn't be happier for him.
Talk about somebody that deserves some spotlight, in Bobby Green and like the good messages he sends out whenever he gets a victory. Seems like a solid dude. For me, this was a really hard choice. I've told you
a lot.
very early that I'm on that Khamzat Chimaev train. Like I am on that train. I'm riding it, man. And since he burst on the scene, like you said, I believe it was in July, right? Comes in with that Darce choke, and you're like, okay, not bad. And then comes back 10 days later, ground and pound.
Yeah.
First round. And then we're like, okay. That's when I announced I'm officially on the
crazy.
Khamzat train. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he comes back in September. Was it against Mearshart?
Yeah.
I believe,
3,
right?
Was just,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're like, all right, let's see what, we got to see more from him.
Yeah. A little bit
Maybe
of a
we'll
bigger
see some
test
stand-up
here.
game. And then he's like, you want to see my stand-up? Here's a knockout in 17 seconds. So we still haven't seen a lot from him. And I'm so sad that he didn't get to fight Leon Edwards to make it 4 fights in 1 year. But Khamzat for me, breakout fight of the year. With an honorable mention, of course, going to Kevin Holland. So the person that you picked as a breakout star of the year was my runner-up in my book. Man, Kevin Holland. Talk about a larger-than-life personality and somebody that is like destined to be a star.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's from Fort Worth, I mean, gotta love the dude.
Yeah, I feel like I talked about everybody that I didn't pick more than I talked about him. But yeah, I mean, 5-0 in 1 year is insane. Everybody else, I think he's the third in the modern era to do it. But everybody else had a first fight in like January, where his first fight was I think in May. So he could have had 6. I think that's what his goal is. I think he said over a title shot, he would rather have 6 fights next year.
Get paid, man.
So, yeah, and he's just winning bonus after bonus too. The fact that for me, he's the breakout over Chimaev just because man, 5 in a row. As in terms of popularity, I think Chimaev has probably became more popular this year than Kevin Holland. But as far as like on paper, what they were able to accomplish and all that kind of stuff, man, he's the breakout star. Because we knew about him coming into this year, right? But man, he just skyrocketed this year with nothing but just complete hard work. You know, he just put it through it.
A lot to look forward to in 2021. Hamzat already has a fight scheduled for January. That fight that I was just saying, I wish happened. In 2020, but Leon Edwards is not escaping Chimaev. Excited to see both of them continue fighting. All right, so we'll go on to the next
Definitely.
one.
Yeah.
And you said this one sounds kind of mean, but it would be the most disappointing fighter for you in 2020.
Man, I don't even like thinking about it because
I can go first if you want.
Yeah, go first for me. Go first.
Because I don't mind. So in my case, it's Tyron Woodley.
Ooh, that's
big disappointment for me this year, and he has, I believe it's 3 losses in a row. One of them coming in 2019 when he lost his belt. But when I think about knowing what this guy's capable of doing, I still feel like he has a lot left in the tank physically.
Yeah.
But seeing his last 2 performances, it's not just the fact that he lost, it's how he lost those fights.
Yeah.
Where he was just so reluctant to let his hands go and so hesitant. And you see that so much of what's holding him back is the mental aspect. And I still expect more from Tyron Woodley. I still expect him to be a contender. Does he expect himself to be a contender now?
Well,
That's real.
What was hard for me was the fact that he acknowledged that in his last 2 fights, he wasn't letting the hands go. He acknowledged all that stuff and was like, but I'm going to do it this time. But he still didn't. And it's like something's wrong there. So, yeah, it is disappointing to see because, like you said, you know what he's so capable of.
And you see Duke Roufus was saying that he's trying to find himself, trying to find that aggressiveness again and still wanting to continue to fight and be a top-tier fighter. Mm-hmm. Things we've heard in 2020 from him and just didn't see. So,
yeah. Man, as far as disappointments, it's so hard for me, honestly.
As long as you say with all due respect before you say it, Will, nobody gets offended.
Yeah, it gives you the free pass.
All day.
Man, with all due respect, it's got to be your boy, Joseph Benavidez.
Oh, man.
It's just... It's so hard, you know, because it's so close twice. I mean, obviously more than twice, but man, just I think the reason I was more disappointed, especially with the second fight, isn't because of anything he did wrong. It's just because before he got caught in the first fight, it was pretty competitive, you know? So I was like, man, we're getting another shot here. Like, it's a winnable fight. It was a close fight. And then in the rematch, Figueiredo just made it look like he didn't even belong in there. It was one of the most, like, bullish performances in that division I think I've ever seen.
I remember thinking, too, because Davison missed weight for that first fight.
One, yeah.
And it was competitive. And I remember thinking, maybe it's because he missed weight and he didn't have to cut those extra pounds that allowed him to come in that well. So I thought, okay, well, here we go. Here we go, Benavidez. Yeah. He's going to cut weight all the way. He's going to be more drained. This is you. You got this. Finally, the title you've been chasing. And then he went night-night.
Yeah, and it was hard. It was a tough loss, too. That was brutal. So, yeah, that's got to be my pick. Not disappointed in him. It's just my biggest disappointment happens to be one of his fights. Just because, you just root for him so hard.
I like the twist on that, Will.
Yeah. Because with all due respect, dude.
With all due respect. All right, we'll move on to the next one. Biggest surprise of the year. And this could be anything. It could be fighter. It could be a fight you watch. Biggest surprise of the year for you. What would it have been?
Yeah. I thought about this one for a while because, like, later on, like we were talking about it, upset of the year, surprise of the year is very similar, right? But if you broaden the horizons of just biggest surprise of the year, the biggest surprise for me was Khabib retiring, because we had just been told 30-0, 30-0, 30-0, 30-0, and then there was no talk about any type of retirement or alluding to the fact that, hey, my mother didn't want me to continue after this fight. There was none of that talk leading up to the fight. He was even the day before the fight. I don't know. I can't remember his name. Someone from BT Sport. He's really great. I wish I could give him a shout out, but he did an interview with Khabib when they were playing pool, and it was hilarious because Khabib definitely doesn't know how to play pool. And I realized that after he hit a solid ball in, and then his very next shot hit a striped in, and was just like, I'm just gonna knock in whatever I can, and it's classic.
Have you ever seen him play basketball?
No.
Oh, it's the best thing ever. It's like a combination of football with basketball. Like he just picks up the ball and just runs with it, puts his head down, and just shoots whenever. Oh yeah, it's awesome.
Classic. But yeah, so in that interview, it was the day before the fight, and he was talking about he wants GSP after this fight. So he was like, yeah, that's probably what we're gearing towards. And then
everybody was talking about
the fight. Yeah, and then after the fight, for him to retire post-fight in the cage like that, it was just, I was like, what's happening? After he just looked so dominant, like he's clearly still in his prime. It was just like out of nowhere for me. And obviously the reasons make sense. Yeah, in hindsight, the reasons make sense, but at the time, it was like, what the hell is happening? So that's my biggest surprise, for sure.
I remember we had to record like right after that because we were both in shock. So definitely a pretty big surprise. For me, it would be the fall of Tony Ferguson.
Yeah. And those two aren't like exclusive from each other. Those kind of tie in together.
They do, because for the longest time, the fight everybody wanted to see was Ferguson versus Khabib. Khabib will take him down to the ground, but Ferguson is so good off his back. Like, there's just this conversation. If anybody would be able to withstand that, it'd be Ferguson. Yeah. Now we see if Oliveira could do what he did to Ferguson, Khabib would have absolutely smashed him, as he says.
Yeah.
So
I think, too, if that last one we did, the biggest disappointment, if that wasn't exclusive to a fighter, if it was just kind of like how this is surprise broad, right? My biggest disappointment would have been the fact that fell through and that Gaethje fought Tony instead.
It didn't fall through just once, not twice, not 3 times. Dude, how many times did it fall through?
Not even 4 times. Yeah, 5 times.
Jeez. I mean, again, when the universe doesn't want something to happen, man, it just...
Yeah.
So the fall of Tony Ferguson for me was the biggest surprise, because even after his loss against Gaethje, I still picked Ferguson up in his last fight here against Oliveira, thinking that he was still going to come back, but he looked like a shell of his former self. So we'll see what 2021 brings for Ferguson.
That was very surprising.
Very surprising. All right. I think I already know who you're going to pick for this one, Will. But for you, referee of the year.
I mean, come on.
You've been on this guy's nuts already for a while, so.
It's your boy Herzog. Come on. Dude.
Jason Herzog.
How about this? I believe he led the UFC with, or not led, but came in second for most fights refereed in 2020.
What was it, like 67 or something like that?
I think 60. Herb Dean, I think, had 75. Herzog had 60. And I think those should be swapped. I think he should be by far, he should definitely be the most common referee in my opinion. He is by far the best referee in the game right now. I don't even think that's a close second. I actually don't think Herb Dean's second. But I think Herzog, I mean, hands down.
Wait, hold on. Who do you think's second now?
Goddard.
It's funny you should say that, Will, because my referee of the year is Mark Goddard. Mark Goddard, referee of the year. I knew you were going to pick Herzog. I agree with you. Herzog is so good, and the way that you see him handle a lot of these unique situations inside the octagon, if we had other referees in there, I think wouldn't go so well. He just makes these issues that pop up seem so effortless and seamless when he handles them. And you know, from making sure that the corner is not coaching their opponents during any nut shots, you know, from not stopping fights too early, too late. Like, those seem to be hot topics all the time with referees. Herzog just always seems to be making the right calls at the right time. So props to him. But Mark Goddard, so many co-main events and main events that I see Mark Goddard, and very similar. It's very rare when you hear any type of issue pop up with Mark Goddard. And for me, he just looks so cool, man. Before the fight starts, cool, calm, collected. He almost seems bored at a certain point where he just like he has something else to do.
It's like, come on,
you know, like, yeah, let's get this going, guys. Like, you know, I got a dinner planned after this. You know, like, But I felt like you were gonna pick Herzog, and I thought, well, who else would be a good referee? And I really like Mark Goddard, who happened to be your second. So.
Yeah, they're in my opinion the two best right now, and I love Herb, but
Herb Dean, he's been falling off a little bit. I feel like.
I mean, it's bound to happen. The more fights you ref, the more mistakes are going to get made. It's just
wise words.
The margin for error is so, like, you know what I mean. So nothing but respect for old Herb
and it's
Deanie.
not like you know, like, let's say football or basketball where you have multiple referees on the floor. One of them might make the wrong call. In that octagon, there's 3 people in that octagon. The fighters and that one ref. So if there's anything that's off of the reffing, it's on that one person. And you'll notice that a lot of these referees in MMA are going to be a lot more popular than your referees in other major sports. So when they make a mistake...
if they say baseball is a game of inches, MMA is... I don't even know what you would say. Because
it's a
so
game
much can
of
go wrong.
Seconds?
If
you ask Justin Gaethje, man, that fight that wasn't stopped, like... He went to sleep because he tapped.
And that was Herzog. The one blemish on the whole year.
The one blemish.
But, you know,
all right. We'll give him a pass. We'll give him a pass. All right, ready to move on?
It was
do you have
choke.
any more nice words to say about Herzog and how awesome he is?
Dude, he posted on his Instagram story yesterday. He's out hiking with his dog and stuff. No idea where he is. And he turns the camera and looks up on this, like, cliffside. And it looks so cool the way the rock formations were and everything. And I was like, dude. So I messaged him with that. And I was like, bro, where is that? And then I go to my DMs, and it's like, this user cannot see DMs from people there. And I was like, oh, cool.
So you can't slide into his DMs.
Nah, I tried though.
You try to slide into his DMs. Well, maybe next time.
Hey, you got to shoot your shot, you know.
Airball.
Listen, not everybody can have 100% certainty replies on their DMs like you and Laura Senko.
Dude, that's my girl, man. Hey, she's a nice lady, man. Don't start talking about her. Oh, hey.
Hey, I would never.
We should have done something for Laura Sanko.
Like what?
I don't know. Best person in MMA ever.
Come on, dude.
Fighter, analyst, whatever you want to do. She would have been number one.
It doesn't go to Boss Root. That goes to Boss Root. Come on.
Nah, Laura Sanko. How dare you?
Okay.
All right, okay. Coach of the year.
I'm a DM boss. Coach of the year. This was hard for me because I didn't want to I wanted to come with like some cool answer, you know, like some cool thoughtful answer that's like, oh, I didn't expect you to pick them. But
I could still say that afterwards.
You have to. For me, it's Eugene Behrman,
Dude,
without a doubt.
Really? I didn't expect you to say that. Was that pretty good?
That's good.
Oh, dude. You know what? I picked the exact same thing.
Dude, I mean,
Kai Kara France, Hooker,
Dan Hooker,
Adesanya.
Brad Riddell, Adesanya. Dude, yeah.
For me, what really did it, and you pointed it out on our podcast, was when Kai Kara France lost, Izzy won that later on that night.
Against
and when you see him
Costa,
go back there, and they're all dancing, including Kai Kara France. And so for me, it's not just the fighters always look prepared. Eugene Behrman has fight plans set up, and they go in looking prepared every single time, the right game plan.
And keep in mind, Kara France lost that fight, but did win fight of the night.
Yeah, but the family atmosphere that it seems like he's been able to create, and you don't see that out of every gym. You know, a lot of times you see people butting heads, certain people only wanting to train at certain times off. You know, you hear that in ATT, you hear that in Jackson Wink, you hear that in a lot of major camps. And over here, it seems like they're all truly in support of each other. Like they're all each other's biggest fans. And I think that starts with the owner of the gym and the culture that he creates within that gym. So that's why, for me, Eugene Behrman, Coach of the Year, Trainer of the Year.
Also, I mean, just the fact that Izzy has no right to be grounded or humble whatsoever, right? Like he does not need to be. He has all the excuses to be the opposite of all those things, right? The guy looks untouchable. He's clearly a superstar. Has been making a ton of money. He could easily be some egotistical asshole and all these things that we see.
Let's
happen.
not talk about
John
Jones right now. Let's not talk about John Jones.
Let's not talk about
continue
Conor,
talking about.
But but Izzy will even say, I don't even plan my career. Like I'll talk to Eugene. Eugene's going to decide for me. He doesn't even make the choices. He still lets Eugene make the choices. He's not getting too big for the gym because exactly. And I mean, a subpar coach isn't going to get that out of somebody like Izzy, who has like that extreme ability and talent. Things like that. Also, all those things that you said are nice, right? And they all are so important, and they definitely lead to the decision for me too. But at the end of the day, how effective are you, right, as a coach? And like, how effective are you as far as getting wins, right? And Izzy versus Costa, in my opinion, went exactly how I thought it was going to. But a lot of people had Costa winning and winning by just barreling through and getting a knockout. And to a subpar fighter, that's going to happen. Costa's going to run through a lot of guys. Mm-hmm. I could see this becoming a thing where, like the heavyweight division, when Kane was on top and JDS was so good, he was still beating everybody, but he's not going to get a title shot. Not after what Kane did to him. Mm-hmm. It happens with Chad Mendez, right? Where you're so good, but you're always the second, and you're never going to beat that next guy.
Bridesmaid.
But Costa could be that guy. But the way they completely dismantled him, and obviously a lot of credit goes to Izzy and his understanding of fighting and stuff. But man, Eugene in the corner, just man,
master,
so technical on top of everything else, like the family, all this stuff, all the respect they have. But man, just perfect corner advice all the time. Every fight, you hear him in the corner, and you're like, man, that guy, calm, cool, and collected. He doesn't overload them, but he also he's not vague in the corner. Like, just perfect. A perfect example of how to coach.
Yeah, and I had a couple of honorable mentions. I had Javier from AK.
Yeah.
A lot of the similar things that we just talked about. You know, with Daniel Cormier, you have Habib Nurmagomedov, and a lot of young fighters that seem to be making their way over there now with like a Cynthia Calvillo, Makhachev. There's just so many fighters that are going to continue to come out of AKA. And then somebody that we said was underrated, both in fighting and coaching recently, James Krause as well.
I know. I wanted to give him an honorable mention as well. But yeah, he actually almost got my pick, to be honest.
Ooh,
if I
really?
wanted to go with like the cool, like obscure pick, I probably would have picked him, but you just can't over Eugene.
Agreed, my friend. All right, let's move on. So,
shout out to the James Krause.
Shout out, hashtag the James Krause. What fight
James Krause
needed to happen the most that didn't happen?
Yeah. I wish I could say Tony versus Khabib.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't. You know? And with hindsight, if Khabib truly retires and never fights again, my answer is Khabib versus GSP. That's my pick.
Okay.
Because
for me, I said
goes to
any second fight for Francis Ngannou. Talk about a travesty, man. The way that this guy's career is being handled right now.
I mean, what do you want, though? Who's he going to fight?
No, I get it. I get it, right? Because at this point, he's probably thinking, give me a shot at the title. We don't know how long that's going to be. And he's letting some of his best years pass him by. I still think there was a few fun fights from up top. But I guess selfishly, I'm just thinking to myself, like, I want to see him fight.
Yeah.
Francis
Did you see the
Ngannou.
latest news with that, though?
What is that?
The latest news is that they're working on Stipe versus Francis. Winner of that is going to fight John Jones for the belt. So the focus is Francis versus Stipe, which is good. I thought he might get leapfrogged.
That is good.
You know?
That is good.
I think that's the right way to handle that.
Yeah, and and I get it. I'm speaking strictly from a fan's perspective, not from a business mindset, where I love seeing Francis Ngannou fight. He's one of those fighters that you're on the edge of your seat as soon as, the ref lets him go, because you know that in any split
It's instant
second.
chaos.
It's fireworks right away. So for me, selfishly, I would have just loved to see any second fight with Francis Ngannou.
Yeah. You know what is interesting? If Stipe does beat Francis again, which I think he probably will, which is not easy, but I do think I would give it to him. If he beats Francis next year, there's a decent chance we still don't see John Jones at heavyweight until 2022. How about that? Because Stipe hasn't. In 2018, Stipe fought once. 2019, Stipe fought once. 2020, Stipe fought once. If he fights Francis like midway through next year, very good chance we don't see him fight John until the next year following.
And I don't know if you remember, but he said that he thinks part of the reason that he got TKO'd or knocked out by Daniel Cormier was because he fought so quickly after he fought Ngannou.
Yep.
And Ngannou punches kind of hard. So
Yeah.
he might have still been a little punchy.
A Ford Escort.
Sledgehammer, right? Full force 12. I think they said 12-pound sledgehammer. Overhead
Yeah,
slam.
I like the Ford Escort.
Ford Escort.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good picture. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's just, again, Francis Ngannou, I would have just loved to see him fight any second fight that we'd gone in the year. And I think about the knockout with Rosenstruck,
Jair. Yeah.
where it's just, I wouldn't mind seeing him do that a couple more times.
I know. Yeah. It's just at that point, it's like, what is he going to do? He's not going to fight outside of the title at this point. He's beating
Just knock other people out. Give him a Hardy. All right, so let's go.
Yeah.
Upset of the year.
Yeah.
Upset of the year. Do you mind if I go with this one?
Yeah, go for it.
So I have
'Cause I have two solid ones that I really like.
I have Shayna Dobson,
Yeah. Good call.
right, versus Agapova. Agapova coming in. This is from Bovada. Minus 1,600. With Dobson plus 800.
That's crazy to me that's
It is.
what that was.
It was one of the most lopsided odds that I had seen in MMA. You see that in boxing.
Yeah.
But in MMA,
Yeah.
that's very rare. So for me, seeing that and then seeing Dobson weather the storm in the beginning with Agapova's bun smashing, and and then just taking
That
her
was
down.
crazy, man.
That
was crazy.
I'm just thinking about those strikes where it's just one right after another, no rhyme or reason, but it's just like, what's she arranged for? Right hook, left kick. Just like everything, throwing everything, kitchen sink. But the way she was able to hold that through the first round, second round, take her down to the ground, do work, and showed everybody why that plus 800 was a joke for a veteran like Shayna Dobson. I think that was, for me, the biggest upset of the year.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. Man,
Will
for
approved,
me, yeah, I'm cool with that one. That's it's a good shout. For me, honorable mention that I have to talk about is Derek Brunson versus Edmund Shabazian.
Ooh.
That's my honorable mention because Edmund Shabazian was looking like he was the next
ascending.
big thing. He
Yeah.
was ascension.
Not descending.
Yeah, not descending. And Derek Brunson
Was
descending.
It's
Yeah.
the opposite.
Opposite trajectories.
Yeah,
Guess what
something
happened
like
after?
that.
It was like this, and then it went to this.
Or,
I mean,
I don't know.
similar.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. What it was an upset.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody expected that. And it put a ton of respect on Brunson's name, where people are really talking about him very highly now, which before that fight, it was harder to find people talking about him highly.
Mm-hmm.
But my actual pick is your boy Julian Juicy J. Arosa versus Sean Woodson. I didn't have him winning that fight. And this has some bias in it because I'm a huge Arosa fan. I really liked him from the show. You know, he was just like seemed like such a good dude. He was a plus 375 underdog. Sean Woodson was a minus 550 favorite on Bovada.
Wow.
And man, I don't know if it was one of those things where Woodson just didn't take him seriously or what it was, but man, when he got that choke, I think he got him with a Darce. I think he got him with a Darce, but Woodson was winning the fight in my opinion. And Arosa came in and got that Darce. And it was so cool to see because man, Woodson is a very highly touted prospect. That guy looks very dangerous and is very dangerous. I think he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. But I mean, if you look at Arosa going into that fight, KO'd in the first round, lost a decision, and then got high kick knocked out in the third round. Got cut from the UFC after losing those 3 in a row. Fought in cage sport and then took this fight on short notice and got not only won the fight but got a finish, a third round submission.
That's awesome.
So hard to get when you're all sweaty and all that jazz. But so yeah, that's my pick for biggest upset.
Good pick. Good.
With
pick.
a little bias in there because I really
just
like
a little
the guy.
bit. It's all good though. It's all good. When you have your own podcast, you can be as biased as you want. So submission of the
We've
year.
made it. We made
Look
it.
at me, Ma. All right,
Yeah.
so submission of the year for me, I have Nurmagomedov.
Oh.
Nurmagomedov
against
dude. Against
Gaethje?
Justin Gaethje, and for me, it's probably what happened afterwards, you know, and the meaning behind that last
But that
submission
matters.
and that we saw.
That's part of it. It's not just the submission. It's the
it's
whole story around it. That's the point of this podcast.
The emotional piece that went after it. As a
Yeah,
big fan
it's
of
the story.
Nurmagomedov,
It's the story of the fight.
Of the fight, you know? That's a good name for a podcast. But yeah, so for me, I'm going to remember if Nurmagomedov never fights again, I'm going to remember that triangle choke for a very long time.
Dude,
and it's like vivid.
Even outside of the story, the armbar switch to triangle, super cool. And then you add some more story to it, and he knew Justin's parents were cage side, and he knew Justin said, I'm not going to tap. So he got him in the armbar, could have finished it there, but remembered, hey, he's not going to tap. I'm not going to break his arm in front of his parents.
What a nice
So
guy.
he switches to the choke. That is some of the scariest shit I've ever. That's like comic book shit. That doesn't happen when the best are fighting the best. You don't have that type of clarity in the moment to be able to do that.
And then the skill set to be able to transition from that with a high-level grappler in Justin Gaethje.
Yeah.
All for his parents. What a sweet guy. What a nice guy, dude. All-time nice. And an honorable mention for me, Jimmy Flick versus Cody Durden, which we just saw right now.
That was sweet.
It's probably because it was very recent.
A little recency bias in that one, but it was good. He was getting pieced up and flying triangle. Basically. Yeah. So my honorable mention is your boy Aljamain Sterling against Corey Sandhagen. The fact that in my opinion should have been the title fight, not Piotr Jan versus Aldo, but I thought they could have had that be for the vacant belt and it would have been a true championship fight. The fact that he took his back that quick in the first and got that rear naked choke against someone that high level who looked so impressive going into that fight and since that fight with knocking out Marlon Moraes, that's got to be my honorable mention because my actual pick is Bryce Thug Nasty Mitchell versus Matt Sales with a twister. The second twister in all of the UFC at 4 minutes and 20 seconds. That's a cool 4:20 of round number 1. With the twister, Eddie Bravo would be very proud that he landed that at 4:20.
Exactly. Both that he landed the twister and the time. Yes.
Oh, no.
What, 2019?
Oh, no.
2019, right?
That's December of 2019.
Yeah.
So you know what? I switch it up and I go with Aljamain Sterling. With the
there you go.
Corey Sandhagen.
I wasn't going to say anything. I was like, you know
man.
what? I'm pretty sure that was 2019, but the twister was fantastic. That was the second twister, right?
Second twister in UFC history. Korean Zombie with the first one. God.
And the fact that he almost landed a twister. Yeah. The fact that he almost landed a twister this year, too.
He did against Charles Rosa.
Yeah, and the fact that his
Did get it,
nickname's
but-
Thug Nasty, we
Son of a
had
bitch.
to talk about him. So
Yeah, but that's how good the Twister was. It could have won Best Submission of 2019 and 2020.
I love it. I love it. All right.
God damn it.
Next one, knockout of the year. I'll let you start off with this one.
Ooh, probably the most competitive one, in my opinion. This is a great year for knockouts. You got Corey Sandhagen with a wheel kick on Marlon Moraes.
That was
you
a great
got,
one.
yeah, you got Kevin Holland with a knockout as he's getting up out of guard.
Never seen that before.
Stands above him, holds him by the shoulder, and just beats down on him. One of the scariest things I've ever seen. Looked like the scene of the remember in Goodfellas when he walks across the street to beat up that dude with the handgun.
Yeah.
Dude, it looked like that. Like Jacare touched Holland's wife or something.
Dude.
And then we got Cody Garbrandt with the Marge Simpson reaching down to his back heel, knocking him out at the bell, right at the bell. That adds to it.
Yep.
Also, the fact that going into that fight, he was 0-3 in his last 3 fights.
He
all
needed
TKO
that fight.
stoppages.
He needed
that one has a ton going into it. Man, I'm sure there's so many that I'm forgetting, but for me, number one. Also, shout out Chaos Williams with that uppercut he had. But number one for me, probably for a lot of people, and in my opinion, it should win. Is Joaquin Buckley with against Kasangane, throwing the kick, caught the kick, jumps back to the jumping back kick. I mean, it was just so perfect. The fact that
It's like something out of a movie.
The fact that he stayed up for like a solid 3 seconds after and then fell. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. Didn't seem possible. It's reminiscent of when Anderson landed the front kick on Vitor and knocked him out. It was like, this doesn't happen in real life. Not in the UFC. Like, this is, like you said, this is some movie shit. This is scripted. The fact that he landed that, it's just
Anderson
crazy.
Silva owes a lot to Steven Seagal for teaching him that front kick, by the way.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if Buckley learned this from a Steven Seagal movie.
Or Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah.
One of the two.
Oh, I thought I was wearing a Bloodsport shirt today. I almost did.
But no, dude, I picked up Joaquin Buckley as well. That's something that I don't think we're going to see anytime soon in the UFC. Same thing with Hollins, though, man. That was a very close second for me.
The only reason I didn't give it to Holland is because I think Jacare's chin is kind of a little bit suspect. A little bit. Whereas Kasangane is fresh, you know?
Yeah.
And he put him out.
He sure did. But for me, the level of difficulty, same thing, getting out of guard and just hitting him with that right hook from Fort Worth straight on his forehead.
All the way to Brazil.
And, dude, you probably thought he was in Brazil when he woke his ass up. But after you first hit him, you see him go back, and then he's an autopilot right after that. Because you see him kind of like reach for Holland again, and then Holland's like, no, there's more. And then it was scary, man. Because after he was sitting
it was hard.
on the stool afterwards, like you see him start going out again. Mm-hmm. So it was a very scary knockout. But I also had Ngannou versus Rosenstruck.
Gotcha.
The way that he blitzed Rosenstruck,
Who
chin
needs
high up in the
technique?
air. Chin high up in the air. He took a left hand from Rosenstruck, and he's like, oh, check mine out. And then he hit him with his left, and then he caught him with that last one for good measure while he was just sitting down against the cage. So, man, like you said,
not a bad pick.
A lot of really good knockouts this year. So that's all I got for knockout of the year. Will, you got anything else?
No, like I said, I'm sure there's a ton. And also with all these ones, if people want to like comment what they think we picked wrong on and what they think should have won in any of these categories, like definitely throw it down there because there's so much that happened this year that there's no way that we're going to, I'm sure there's stuff that
Everybody has different opinions.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm going to see something and be like, I would have picked that too, but I just, you know what I mean? I thought Bryce Mitchell landed that twister this year, so clearly I'm missing some stuff.
All right, man. So this is, for me, the biggest awards we're giving out, I guess, if you want to call them the first annual Story of the Fight Awards, Will.
I know.
First annual. I like it.
First
We're
annual.
gonna make sure this is a tradition. So, Fight of the Year. I think you already know who I'm going to pick. I want to know who you're picking for Fight of the Year, Will.
For me, there's 4 in my opinion, 4 that I can think of that are even in contention.
They're probably going to be the same as mine. Let's see.
And I'll go backwards.
Okay.
For me, not as far as like who I think should win, but just recently, right? As far as time goes. Most recent, Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno. Definitely, I mean, the best fight in flyweight history, in my opinion.
Hands down.
Yeah, like, man, just not even close, right? So good. Then I would like to say Marvin Vettori versus Jack Hermanson.
That was a good
was
one.
an absolute barn burner of a fight. So that's got to be in there. And just a real coming out party for Vettori, and just great all the way around that fight.
Really catapulted him, huh, into the top 5?
Really did. Yeah. Then I'm actually going to change this up to 5 fights, by the way. Then it is Dan Hooker versus Dustin Poirier.
Got that one.
Which I think if we had a round of the year category, round 2 of their fight, I think is the best round that I saw this whole year. Just crazy fight, man. Dan Hooker, every single time he fights, even when he loses, the heart and chin on that guy is absolutely immeasurable. Like, just can't say enough good things about him, and I can't wait to see him fight Chandler. I'm really glad that they gave him that, because it shows that the UFC sees him. They regard
Thinks of
him
him very
pretty highly.
Yep.
Yeah. Then I'd like to also throw in there Shane Burgos versus Emmett. I think that was also a crazy fight that kind of gets overlooked a little bit, but it was just, I mean, it was an awesome fight.
That was a good one.
And then the earliest one that I think needs to be in there is Zhang Wei Li versus Joanna Champion. Also a crazy fight. And my pick is Zhang Wei Li versus Joanna Champion. Because the stakes that were involved with that fight for both fighters, Zhang Wei Li, first Chinese champion, massive deal over there. This was her first title defense against someone who you could argue is the best champion in that division, and outside of Amanda Nunes, probably the best female champ we've ever seen, in my opinion. So a lot riding on that fight for her. Matt Hughes always said, you're not a champion until you defend your belt once. So that's it's a big fight for her to take that fight. On top of that, Joanna going into this may be her last title shot. It's hard, you know. So she had such a dominant run, and she's been kind of back and forth since then. Tried at the other division at 125, couldn't get that. Gets a title shot at 115 again, and just, I mean, it's hard when you think this might be my last shot, right? You see that with Joseph Benavidez. You see that with all kinds of fighters. So tons of stakes with her going into that fight. It's for the belt, in my opinion, the toughest female division. One of my favorite divisions across the whole sport. And then the fact that it was nonstop, just brutality from both of them. Just a crazy war. And it was so closely contested the entire way through that I actually had, and on rewatches, I've seen that fight 3 times now. I have Joanna winning that fight. That's how close. I don't think it's a robbery by any means. I'm fine with the decision, but that's how good that fight. It was so highly contested at the peak of this sport. They were just standing in front of each other. The pace was crazy. They're constantly throwing at each other, constantly showing great defense, but still eating a ton of shots. Great angle, just everything you could wish for in a fight. And man, they both delivered it at the highest stage with the most stakes for both of them. So yeah, that's my number 1. Just all class from both of them.
I had the same honorable mentions here with Moreno versus Figueiredo. And I think what I already told you, like, I've said it before, I'll say it again. For Hispanic people that enjoy fighting, we just enjoy that classic Mexican style of fights that we haven't seen in the UFC yet, that we used to see in boxing all the time. And Brandon Moreno,
we've seen it, just not at this level.
Brandon Moreno brought it, and for me it was super exciting. So a little biased on that fight, right? And the way that Figueiredo was able to have that quick turnaround as well. Fastest turnaround, I think, in the UFC history for a title.
I think just for a main event.
Yeah,
Not even just a
it's
title.
crazy, man. And they both showed up. Poirier versus Hooker, fantastic fight, man, beginning to end.
Mm-hmm.
It was just back and forth. But for me, I also picked Joanna Jędrzejczyk versus Zhang Weili. And 5 grueling rounds, 783 total strikes. And I don't...
Crazy.
At the end, they were like, man, this has to be the best female fight in history. And I think it's one of the best fights in history, period.
It's the top 5 by far.
It was fantastic. And Joanna Jędrzejczyk, I think, proved that she still needs to be in the discussion for the top fighters in MMA. And Zhang Weili proved that she's a true champion. Right? So there's so much that came out of the fight. And the hematoma that made her look like Sloth from the Goonies.
I don't know why you're going like this. It was this.
It was the forehead, right? It was like it was this part right here that was messed up.
Yeah.
And hey, Zhang Weili didn't walk away unscathed either, you know. So, but it was just such a good fight, man. And for me,
it was crazy,
hands down, fight of the year. And I think this fight happened in March. Was it?
Yeah, probably. It was before the lockdown. But it
so
was
for us
you know
to
what?
go.
It was Corona was kind of like becoming a thing at that point.
It was a thing
because I remember
but
Joanna.
It wasn't Corona.
Yeah, I remember Joanna was like, "Should I wear a mask during this fight?" Because Zhang Weili's from China, so it was like, and there was all kinds of like backlash because of that. So it was like
that's right,
about to kick off.
That's right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
But for it to have happened that early in the year and have so many events, and for us to still think so highly of this fight with recency bias being a thing,
very heavy.
You know,
yeah,
it just goes to show how good this fight was. So for Rich the producer, if there's a fight that you're gonna watch to get you into fighting, this is one of the ones that you want to have on your list. All right.
Yeah.
This is the big award.
Yeah.
Fighter of the year. Who do you have, Will?
Yeah.
First annual story of the fight.
First annual
fighter of the year.
Probably the most important. Bigger than the belts.
What?
It's bigger than all the belts, you know. If I was a fighter, this is what I would want, not just some UFC championship. You know what I mean?
All right, I like that.
This is, you know what I mean. This is a venerable title.
We'll send him a little trophy,
it's just a printout,
a certificate,
and it's just
that's awesome.
But yeah, man. I mean, so honorable mentions for this one: Kevin Holland. For 5-0 in 1 year is astronomical. It's only been done 3 times in the modern UFC era, and he did it in almost half the time of everybody else. I mean, the pace that he was set to, I think he would have had 7 fights if he fought at the pace across from the start of the year. I think he would have had 7 fights this year. So just, I mean, undeniable. 5-0 is crazy. I think if Bobby Green had won his last fight, which I do think he did, he'd also be in the conversation. So I just want to give a shout out to him. Outside of them, Chimaev, you can't completely discount him. But for me, it's got to be Davison Figueiredo. Because not only did he... Was the first Benavidez fight, was that this year? Or was that at the end of last year?
I want to
fact check everything I do now after that Bryce Mitchell fiasco. The absolute embarrassment.
Hey, dude, it happens
yes,
to the
that was
best of us.
February.
By the way, might have one of the best nicknames in mixed martial arts.
Yeah, in God of War, right? Yeah.
Dios de Guerra? Oh my God,
Yeah.
dude, that's scary shit.
Yeah, he even dyes his hair. Yeah, it's great. But yeah, for him to go... So we talked about Holland going 5-0, and that's a big deal. Figueiredo goes 4-0, which is also a very big deal. If he didn't miss weight in that first one, it's 4 title fights in 1 year, which is crazy. And the fact that, I mean, it's crazy. He loses, or he wins the fight, right, against Benavidez the first time, but he missed weight. So there's a caveat, not a title fight. So they got to run it back. Now there's a question mark, like you said. Is he going to be diminished if he makes this weight? Is he going to miss weight again? And we see the opposite. He becomes much more diligent and much more disciplined, and weight cuts are easy for him now. That Brandon Moreno fight in 3 weeks, the weight cut wasn't a problem. So he flips that switch, which is outside of the fight game, a very hard thing to do, is become disciplined when you might be undisciplined. It's hard to steer that course correct. He finishes Benavidez in the second round. They rematch. He makes weight for the belt, finishes him in the first round this time. Then he goes on to fight Alex Perez, and he finishes him in the first round and fights 3 weeks later to become the second fighter in UFC modern history, back when it was all tournaments and stuff, but in the modern era, to win or to headline back-to-back pay-per-views and the fastest turnaround time for a main event. And by the way, they're both for the title, so fastest turnaround for a champ to defend his belt, or even to be in 2 title fights, right? Challenger or champ. And he takes on Brandon Moreno. He gets the draw, but it's a fight of the year contender. If he didn't get the point deduction, all 3 judges would have had him winning the fight. Arguments can be made wherever, but the fact that he went 4-0, and I say 4-0 because the draw, I shouldn't have said 4-0, but
3-0-1.
Yeah, 3-0-1. 3 finishes and a draw in a fight that he was winning on the scorecards, right? Just absolutely crazy. And probably the hardest task that he achieved is getting people to care and look forward to flyweight fights. He got casuals to take note, which is very hard to do for that division, apparently, for some reason. I don't know. I don't get why, but he did it,
Yep.
So that's my pick.
Good pick. Very good pick. He happens to be my honorable mention.
Ooh.
Yeah, with Davison Figueiredo.
Ooh.
Same thing, man. I have so much respect for champions. For anybody that steps in that octagon. But for champions especially, because the hard work, dedication, the sacrifice, the discipline that goes into becoming a champion in your sport.
Yeah.
Not everybody has it in them, especially in an individual sport where you can't rely, you
don't get carried.
Yeah, you don't get carried by anybody else. So a lot of respect, even more respect for active champions.
Yeah.
So for him to have that many title fights in 1 year, I love this guy, man. Davison Figueiredo. I hope he continues being active. I hope he continues putting in, 2-3 fights a year. Probably not 4. I mean, if they all end up being like his last fight, he's probably going to have some recovery time in between his fights.
Yeah. And I think they said that too. They're like, hey, we get it if you need some time off.
Yeah, that was a straight barn burner, man. But I love Davison Figueiredo.
Real quick, before you say what you're about to say, I just want to your point, Dan Ugla has a World Series ring from when he was on the Giants. So you don't get carried like that in the UFC or in MMA.
Dan Ugla. Hey, LeBron James just won another championship when he was carried by Anthony Davis. I don't know. I don't know much about basketball.
I get the reference.
Because
I get the reference.
Rich, the producer, is a big NBA fan. But
gotcha.
So the other one, Khamzat Chimaev, is on my list as well. I think if he would have fought Leon Edwards and starched Leon Edwards, I think he would have been an easy pick for me.
Even if he squeaked a decision, I probably would have picked him.
Yeah. Valentina Shevchenko, just dominant, man, all
Pure
the time.
Dominance.
Yeah, and I don't think that she gets enough respect for...
It's the Demetrius Johnson effect, right?
It is, where people are just like, well, she's just going to clean out that division,
Yeah.
I don't know. But for me, it's Kevin Holland. Fighter of the year, Kevin Holland. Again,
I get it.
5 fights, 5 wins. 4 of those 5 fights have come by stoppage.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going in there and he's doing work, man. And I think about, again, the Joaquin Buckley's where he knocks him out. And we're like, well, Buckley, he's not. Then we see the monster that Buckley is.
Every time Buckley wins, Holland looks better.
That's what I'm saying. And then Jacare, coming off his biggest victory of his career. And granted, Jacare's, descending.
Yeah.
While Holland's ascending. So I get it. But either way, big name, big victory. And the way he did it, man, absolutely dismantled Jacare. Made me feel bad for Jacare. Might be something that the UFC looks at, possibly, dropping Jacare from the roster, considering that they're cutting a lot of fighters. But man, this guy, I think sky's the limit for Kevin Holland.
Yeah.
In 2020, he showed us that a star is born. And fighter of the year for me, 5 fights, 5 victories, 4 out of the 5 stoppage. It's Kevin Holland, and he has the best shoe game in the UFC.
Yeah,
So,
I was back and forth with Figueiredo and Holland. I think, like you said, I just edged Figueiredo slightly because they were title fights. But yeah, Holland it's a toss-up between the two, I think.
Yep. And that's all I got. I don't think there was anything else we were supposed to cover. Did you have anything else, Will?
Nope. That's the first ever Story of the Fight Awards.
Annual Story of the Fight Awards. Yeah. And I did want to mention to our listeners here, when we start with our regular programs of, covering fights and recapping fights, we will have those in podcast feed, available on podcast feed as well. So we're looking forward to that.
Not just on YouTube anymore.
Yeah, Rich, the producer, is going to help us out with that as well. Good things coming.
Can we just instead of Rich, because I know we were trying to think of like a name, right? Can we just have it be Rich the Casual?
Rich the Casual?
Yeah.
I like that, especially now that he's going to start looking into fights. He's getting started right now. He's like a baby.
Yeah. Rich the Casual, if you're there, are you cool with that?
I'll be Rich the Casual if one day I can evolve into Rich the Pro.
Ooh, I like that. That's already setting goals.
Yeah, that's the goal. That's the goal. All right, but so very excited here. We have a lot of fights coming up, and I know that next week, we talked about possibly doing what we're looking forward to in 2021, so that we don't go dark for a couple of weeks. We continue putting some content out there. Rich the Casual will continue helping us make this show better, and then I look forward to getting George on for some underdog picks. Even though his last underdog pick didn't go through, it was still a solid pick. So,
didn't it go through?
I don't think he did. He picked that Cheeto.
The Bronx?
Oh, that's right. He picked the Bronx, but he also picked that Cheeto to beat Jose Aldo. But his main pick, you're right, was the Bronx.
It's true.
But I'm looking forward to getting George on some of the podcasts as well. So
definitely.
But that's all I got.
Interesting, fun things with him on the way. So that'll be cool.
For sure. 2021 is going to be a very fun year. So thanks for everybody who has supported us in the last 6 months, who has subscribed. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram. We have a Twitter page as well. And email, Will?
Email is storyofthefight@gmail.com.
So a lot of places where you can reach us, interact with us. We love interacting with everybody, with all the listeners. And like Will said, if there's anything that you think we missed, any fights, just let us know. Comment below.
Yeah, or if you think we're completely way off on some of our picks, put it down there.
Yeah, just reach out to us. And I'm sure that Rich the Casual will find a way to get these noted on the next episode. But that's all I got.
Yeah.
You got anything else?
Nope.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening to Story of the Fight.